Hello, and welcome to the Meeting Your Soul podcast. I am Farah, and I have an incredible guest today that I am so delighted to have join me. But for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, this podcast was designed as an opportunity for us to connect with our souls, to be able to have a deeper awareness of what's going on within us in the self discovery process, to understand ourselves on a deeper level, and all of the variety of tools that we have available to us at this point in time that we can access to be able to gain that awareness and also be able to do so from a place of connectedness and community. So that is why I am so delighted to have Chelsea here today joining me. We actually met at the We Are Her Network retreat, which we both were participating in and being able to support domestic violence and sexual assault victims as they also uncovered some tools to be able to have them gain a deeper awareness and understanding of healing as they move through their own personal journeys. And Chelsea and I, ironically, I well, never ironically, because this is how my life works, is that we both were from Tacoma. We both so happened to join this retreat, and we just had such an incredible time getting to know each other. And she is a wealth of knowledge and experience, and just a beautiful heart and soul. And so I thought there's no better person that I would want to have on the podcast. So I am delighted and honored that you are joining me today. And I sincerely thank you for making time to do so.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my
Yeah,
honor and pleasure.
yeah. And so I would love for you to be able to give everyone a little bit of background about what you're currently doing, how you're showing up in the world, and how you are supporting the community around you. Because I think that that's been a real focus for you at this point in time.
Yeah, well, to start, I had to go inward. We all have to have kind of that wounded healer's journey, right?
Mhm.
So I just, after feeling like I've been failed, like by a lot of external systems, and not knowing anything about myself, I just had to spend a lot of time with myself and getting to know myself and what was wrong. And ultimately, finding out what wrong is wrong gives you the ability to hack it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so now I'm just in a position here where I have my little urban farm where I focus on regenerating not just my relationship with the land and myself, but also empowering others to do the same thing. I don't think that we're always provided an environment where we have that option for self-discovery. So I try and make sure that I cultivate and hold sacred space for others to do that as well. And that looks different for everyone at different parts of their journeys. But yeah, here we regenerate the land, but also minds, bodies, and souls.
There you go. I love that. And then the urban farm, where are you located at this point in time?
We are in Billings, Montana, and I'm just on like a regular city plot. It was all turf and
Mm.
concrete when I moved here 4 years ago, and slowly through permaculture and edible landscaping, I've been able to reclaim the land. The next big project here is we've been draining the pool, and we're going to convert that into an underground greenhouse so that we can grow some more stuff.
Oh, that's so incredible. I don't think I knew that it started off with turf and concrete. I just assumed, especially with Montana being such a rural area, I assumed that it was already raw land, but had to kind of reconstruct that.
Yes, I started with a very, very small scale food forest, a grapevine, a dwarf apple tree, and then just some other layers.
Mhm.
And then added some raised beds. And then this year I did the front area, which has like corn and a lot of grains, but also a bunch of other medicinal herbs. I think at this point I'm around 200 different species on this little
Mm.
plot.
Oh, that is so incredible. I think it was like the first few moments that we met. I was like, you're like, yeah, I have an urban farm. And I was like, one, let me see a picture of it because I just need to like picture what this like even this existence it looks like. And then also, yeah, it's quite fascinating the amount of different species that you have on the property and how intentional you've been and kind of setting them up and how they can interact with one another and really like help each other flourish to a certain extent, right?
Absolutely. I'm in a fractal system. I want to demonstrate that diversity is key to health. So
Mm,
whether that's in a garden, in our gut, for our microbiome and
mm,
society as a people, like diversity is going to be the building blocks to health.
yeah. Well, and that was something that I know that you had gone through your own personal health journey that's kind of gotten you to this point as well. Would you like to share a little bit more about that?
Well, most of my life, I kind of just, well, let's say post puberty,
Hmm.
my health started struggling. I did grow rapidly because I was a gymnast in my early years. And so like I was a late bloomer. Um, but then I grew. I was 5'1" until I was about 16 years old and very small. And then Mother Nature had fun with me and I shot up and out and everything. And what I did not know is I also had lipedema. And so that is why I shut out everywhere. And then with my first pregnancy, I gained a lot more weight. Like I want to say 82 pounds with him, even though like I couldn't stand anything greasy. Like it just my
Hmm.
arms swelled up and I mean fast forward, it just kept getting worse. I had a lot of trauma in my early years, even into my 20s. And everything energetically just starts to build up in the body.
Hmm. Hmm.
And a lot of epigenetic conditions started to show their faces. And I want to say by the time I was able to diagnose myself and get confirmation, there was probably 12 or 13 different things.
Hmm.
My body was in such a state of fight or flight that I had developed centralized pain sensitization. So I lived
Hmm.
in a level 9 chronic pain. I also was
Wow.
living in anaphylaxis, and my
Hmm.
organs were starting to shut down and I had ballooned over 400 pounds.
Wow.
And that was, I want to say the worst of it was probably about 3.5 years ago. I couldn't walk without falling down. Like I was in urgent care
Mm.
a lot. I had no muscle mass left. And
Mhm.
I was in the process of filing for disability. And I'm like, I don't want to be on anyone's list. And this is not the narrative that I want to tell myself. I'm not disabled
Mhm.
and I'm not helpless. Like
Yeah.
I've already survived so much now, and I did that by telling myself and having hope that there was going to be more and there was
Mhm.
abundance somewhere. And I just decided I have to tell myself I have abundance and
Mhm.
start living in gratitude and hacking everything, like on every level I could,
Yeah.
energetically surrounding myself with crystals and plants and music and everything I could to kind of jump over that hurdle. But that also meant everything that I consume,
Mm.
every
Mhm.
sense,
Mhm.
through every sense I have. So my eyes. So I withdrew myself from all social media
Mm.
because I
Mhm.
needed to control and filter what was going through my eyes and what messages I was receiving. My music, I started filtering. Um, I went alkaline for 6 months to try and reset my body and
Mhm.
get it out of acidosis because of all the chronic inflammation.
Yeah.
And then I just started learning plants and becoming an ally with plants, um, and kind of chaos wise. Like in my yard, I throw things, and that way I can know a plant from seed, like its whole life cycle,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
and bond with it throughout its whole life cycle without harvesting it immediately, you know,
Yeah.
um, and beginning to eat only locally,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
that it matched the light sources and the light codes that were coming down where I was.
Mhm. Mhm.
I removed meat because one of the symptoms that I had was mast cell activation syndrome, as well as Ehlers-Danlos.
Mhm.
And so I have kind of like a histamine intolerance.
Got
So
it.
not knowing it, the anaphylaxis is because I grew up kind of poor, and
Mhm.
most poor people foods have ground beef and tomatoes in them. And both
Mhm.
of those things are very high in histamine.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and then add it to the leftover pile where it's gonna to gain some
Enhance it.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So all my life, it took like 4 or 5 beverages for me to swallow meals.
Mm.
And I just thought that was my normal, right? So I just thought that's everyone's normal.
Well, and if you don't know any different, then how would you know that it should be different? I
Right.
think it always comes back to that. And just being able to have the self-awareness. But what I like to commend you on, and also just to like recognize, is that I think a lot of people go through this journey of, maybe not to this extent, but they have these moments where things become normal to them, but it's not enjoyable. It's not something where they feel like they're happy, they're content with their bodies or their lives, but they're like, okay, this is what I'm doing and I'm going to deal with it. But then you took that moment of reflection and we're like, something's wrong. Like how I'm living, how this is going, something's like not aligned. And I'm going to make a change and I'm going to have the curiosity and the willingness to go down that road even if I don't necessarily fully see where it's going to land me. But the journey, and you're such an intuitive person, that the journey that it took you on was like, I'm going to embrace the land. I'm going to embrace natural foods. I'm going to embrace local foods. I'm going to understand my body on a deeper level. I'm going to understand what I'm eating and I'm going to consume and I'm going to edit everything in my life until it is in a point to where it feels aligned. And that takes a lot of attention, time, energy. But then can I ask like maybe even 3 or 4 moments of transformation that kept you realigning with a sense of hope to feel like things were going to be okay?
The craziest thing is I was born with that hope. Like,
Mm,
even in all of the stuff that I've ever gone through, I've had therapists throughout my life when I've tried to go be like, I don't understand how you're so emotionally healthy. Like,
yeah,
I
I
have an ACE
understand that.
score of 9. Like, they don't, and I've had partners in the past be like, why haven't you given up hope? Like, I
Mm.
don't know why that. I always knew that
Oh,
things would be better.
and when you say a score of 9, what does that mean?
So the adverse childhood experiences score
Mm,
it's a max score of 10, but usually like it determines kind of where you're going to end up in life. The higher the score, usually the more chronic illness, addiction, um, just becoming a statistic usually.
yeah,
Um,
experiencing adverse kind of like upbringing and experiences that lead you to essentially having a less, well, honestly, more trials, right? More like trauma creates trauma within the body. The body keeps a score, so then over time it just keeps building up. But then it sounds like the resiliency in you, but also it also sounds like the ability to recalibrate almost has allowed
transmute.
you to transmute. It's like literally taking these experiences, turning it into something. I don't know. I don't like to say positive because it doesn't always necessarily mean positive, but using it to build
A
strength, to
lesson.
build awareness, a lesson. Yeah.
I've
And
always been like, what am I supposed to learn from this? Like, and it might
mm,
be that little Sagittarius stellium I got going on. I always need to know and grow and expand and stuff. But like,
truly, I bet you that has something to do with it. Uh,
but yeah, I mean, most Sages, they get to travel and do all these things. And I think because I didn't have the budget for travel or the means to go anywhere, I got
mhm,
to do that through lifestyles. And I got to see
mhm,
lots of different perceptions in life
mhm,
and get to step in lots of different shoes and roles. And while I did get to see a lot of darkness, I also got to see so many beautiful things in life about human nature, kindness and compassion, and just so many beautiful traits about our species that just kept me going forward, knowing that eventually there would be like safety and home. And
yeah,
I found that finally.
for sure. And it brings sorry, I'm like trying not to get emotional, but I think that there is so much darkness within the world, and I think especially right now there's so much going on with around us and the news and everything. And there is also still beauty and hope and connection and compassion and love, and those, I feel like those duality of those experiences within life are always in existence with one another, and it
Mhm.
is truly what you like to focus on. I think it's what you shift your attention to. But then that's not, because I always say like it's still happening and there's still a lot of, and I try not to spiritually bypass and be like, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows, because it's not.
Oh
But I do
no.
think that there is always a choice in each day to wake up with a sense of gratitude that you woke up for another day. There's always a choice to be able to, see the light in someone instead of necessarily the darkness. And those choices, I think, then do shape your overall experience of what life brings you to.
I think most of my life I've taken like the observer role too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just see good or bad. Like I want to be the center point of that. I want to be the eye of the storm so that I can see everything.
Yeah, yeah. You're very
I,
comfortable in the gray. Yeah.
yes, yes, I am. That fluidity, because I think that's where most of the beauty of life is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To be able to see all the contrast, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And what,
Sometimes you go into those darkest places, those war-stricken zones, and you get to see the most beautiful aspects of human design on how
mm,
some of those people are helping one another, you know, when
yeah.
they have nothing to share, but they share it.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And those are, I think that's what is humanity, right? Like that's what
Mhm.
connects us to with one another, is to know that things are not always easy by any means and sometimes extremely difficult, but then there's still glimmers of hope and glimmers of love and connection that are existence, and sometimes are even more profound, even more, they stand out even brighter because of all the
Mhm.
darkness that surrounds them.
That
Yeah.
beautiful contrast.
Well, and I have a feeling that you represent that in a lot of areas of your life, even when you don't even notice it about yourself, too.
I just try and live authentically me to give people
Mhm.
permission to do the same, you know?
Yeah, that's so
Like
true.
all my flaws and all the things that I've been through, all the life experiences, like that's knowledge and wisdom and stuff that I want to share with everyone because, you know, while it sucked in the middle of it, if I can help someone navigate it while they're in it or afterwards, it was worth it.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that that is definitely what's coming true within your life. Because I know at the urban farm, you're building such a beautiful community of people that come and are able to heal in, a variety of different ways. If it's not just for connection, but in a sense of a space where they can feel safe. And I think the only
Yeah.
way you can really allow someone to feel safe is if in some way you can empathize with whatever they're sharing with you. And when you can empathize, then that's where people can feel comfortable to open up. But if you have no connection or no, like, even awareness of how that could be, it's really hard to be able to empathize with someone that's gone through different things. And so, um, how is that community building at this point? And also within the We Are Her network, how did you get connected with it? How has it stayed true for you? And also, like, how are you still continuing to build community where you are now?
So the We Are Her program was so monumental in my healing process. I was an attendee myself. Um, I got to make some beautiful connections with some beautiful women and beautiful souls. I also formed an appreciation for myself
Mm,
on what I had survived. Like some of the things that I thought were normal and no big deals because that's where I grew up.
yeah.
Everyone had those stories that shocked other people, and it just was like, man, I'm strong. You know, I'm stronger than I thought I was. Um,
Mhm.
so that's why I went back and I wanted to help out, and I will offer my help in any way that I can with them. As for the community here, we have an adult night here on Friday nights where people are allowed to invest in themselves without the mask that you have to have around children
Mhm.
because there's always an immediate mask that you put up, you know, whether it's your child or not. There's going to be
Yeah.
parts of yourself that you don't delve into because it's a child.
Hmm.
And then on Sundays we have family dinners where everyone can come over. But during the week, I'm open to one-on-ones. I have a holistic healing office here. I have an ever-expanding library people are able to come and borrow books from. Um, I have areas here where people can come and just sit in solitude. I want people to know this is a safe place on their worst day to come and transmute that energy.
Hmm.
But overall, I want a safe place for empowerment for people. Maybe one day we'll do bigger, but like we focus on small scale here
Hmm.
right now to show people what's possible anywhere. So I
Yeah.
have, even in my growing options, like you could do
Hmm.
this on a balcony, a patio. You could do
Yeah.
this, in a very small yard. You could do, and so I try and have lots of different examples, even some indoor examples. My husband is working on an aquaponics system so people can grow
Cool.
indoors on a 20-gallon fish tank.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm just trying to live life. I do have an opportunity for another interview next month for the farm in Montana Cannabis Magazine. That will
Mm-hmm.
be in their winter issue. We did a podcast not too long ago that focuses on small farms. We have some
Hmm.
workings possibly with a local nonprofit that has a food bank on possibly farming other people's yards
Mm-hmm.
and doing like a CSA for giving, say, handicapped or elderly people doing their yards, giving them everything they need, and then donating the rest to the organization's food bank. So there's just
Okay.
a lot of possibilities, and I'm trying to go with the current wherever it
Mhm.
wants to take me and do the
Yeah.
maximum amount of good.
That you can. Oh, I
Yeah,
love it. I just love hearing all of the different ways that you're getting involved and how you continue to dive in and trust yourself along the process too, to know that the current is leading you exactly where you need to be. And it's so cool to see what that's turning into. And as someone who's met you personally, you do have this, I think, ability and gift to really see people for who they are and to be such a clear reflection for them, without any hesitation, without any judgment. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are seeking and needing, even if they don't necessarily know it in their heart quite yet. And so it's beautiful to see the
those
ways
ones are
that you're
not
growing.
always happy about the mirror, though, Farah.
Oh, well, maybe I also had a very positive. I felt the mirror was. I was like, oh, I just like but I also have. I I think within my life, I live in a lot of different settings, and so I also try to be a mirror for others. And so,
Absolutely.
and but so many people have projections, especially meeting me. I think people have a lot of different perceived notions about who I am. And so I'm always usually trying to combat through those to get to the clear version that, when I meet someone who is so clear and just clear, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Let's just, we can just be here together. No, I don't even need to think about anything because I can actually just be fully transparent. And then I know that person's being fully transparent with me as well, which is such a gift that I don't think I even recognize the power of until I started recognizing how rare it can be, truly. How do
Yeah.
you think?
I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely ask people to remove their masks. I have an ever-growing mask collection that I have on the wall because I've worn so many, and I know it can be a detriment when we're not authentic because
Really?
it's lonely. Like, if they love our masks, they don't love us. And we're
Mm,
still then just drowning in loneliness in a sea of faces.
yeah.
And like, I don't want that. So because I felt that and I felt that depth of loneliness,
Mm,
if I can be that one safe place person for someone, then
yeah.
I will.
That's so true. I love that you described that. What allowed you, I think, to take off your mask? Like, what at what point did you just like, did you get fed up? Was there like, or was it accumulation of healing over time to where you finally felt safe to? Like, how did you arrive there?
Well, I was so go, go, go when we're in our fight or flight and we're just like going.
Mm,
And I was a single mom raising two kids. So guess what? For me, COVID was a blessing.
Yeah.
COVID gave me time to sit with myself. Like I had to.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that's when I was like, dude, I think I might be neurodivergent. Like there's something just not exactly fitting on how other
Hmm.
people perceive the world and how I perceive the world. And then once
Yeah.
I got confirmation of that, I was like, oh, what else did they miss? You know, like
Yeah.
and so that's just well, if I can't trust them to do it, I have to trust myself to do it. And then
Hmm.
when you start seeing behind the curtain of Oz, you know, I have
Hmm.
to go tell everyone else too, because if someone would have told me a long time ago that I could take control of so many things, I could eat a few herbs that grow in my yard that people tell me are weeds, and it would help me.
That you don't need a
Like,
pill, that you can actually just like heal yourself,
I mean, if
and it's
pills work, we
progressive.
wouldn't have to refill them, right?
Yeah. Facts. Well, and how did it, what was that first like journey within, within herbal healing that you found? Like, what was your entry point? How did you even get curious about it? And then
Well, I mean,
what
that
benefits did
started a while ago, even when I was raising the boys. Essential oils was the gateway drug, you know? Like,
hmm. Hmm.
uh, I had
That's
a
so funny.
friend.
I went down
Uh,
the essential oil train too, and but it also lavender because I've always struggled with such extreme anxiety. So of having lavender as something that I could just like put on, I was like, oh, I literally feel an instant reaction within myself, and so
yeah.
then I was
I
like, that
used
is
to
such a
lavender
blessing.
bomb the boys' sleepovers.
Love that.
They'd all
It's
be
true
knocked
though.
out before all the previews were over on the movie because I had gone in there and sprayed lavender over everyone's
You're like,
pillow.
let me just sprinkle it on here. No big deal. You guys relax. You relax. It's true. It's
The
so
boy,
helpful though. It makes a difference.
the boys would call it my witch's oils, and now every once in a while they'll get in a pickle and they'll be like, "Hey, mom, what should I do for this?"
Do you have any oil that you would suggest for me to use? That's funny.
Yeah.
And then where did it go from there though? Because I think it's gotten to extent to where you're now growing on your own as well. So then it's like what inspired that, and like, and
I mean,
especially
it's
with all the,
sovereignty.
yeah.
Sovereignty and agency, you know, like when you start looking into all the systems, and I don't want to sound all conspiracy theorist to anyone, you know, but
Yeah.
like when you start doing all your research, you realize that the only way you know for sure that, say, the herb that you would like to use for your health was grown with love and without pesticides and without, you know, like the soil was a living soil. Like you have to do it yourself or know a very trusted source, right?
Yeah.
Um, and because I started aligning with all the frequencies and seeing life as all energy,
Hmm. Hmm.
then it required me to start growing it myself. And when I start helping other people, for me, that's a responsibility even more so on myself. Like, sure, if I want to Amazon order some herbs for myself and take that risk, cool. But if someone else is trusting me with their health as well, I need to make sure that I have done everything I can to make sure they're getting the best medicine, which
Hmm.
means growing my soil, growing the medicine, making sure it's loved throughout the whole process, freeze drying it, locking in any nutrients I have,
Hmm.
and just making sure the entire way it's been loved.
Yeah. Well, and from start to finish, to be able to say that everything that's been contributed towards that and created within that is the frequency in which you want them to align with and which what they want to align with. And, how did, and so we've definitely talked about just like vibration and just understanding everything is energy. And people are like, oh, it's very woo woo. And I'm like, it's actually quantum physics, but however you want to perceive that. How did you get introduced to that? And then, because it sounds like it's been such an influence within everything that you do outside of, and everything within life.
So that whole Sag energy that I have means that I
Mhm.
like to learn. I usually wake up very early in the morning and I spend 3 to 4 hours in the morning learning before
Mm,
my
mhm.
husband and all the animals wake up. And
Yeah.
so I'm just self-taught. I
Mhm.
go down rabbit holes of obscure or less known information that might be kept secret, or
Mm,
but
mhm.
anything really that empowers oneself.
Yeah.
I just started going to root causes.
Mm,
Why would I keep buying butter from a store if I could just get a subscription of milk and start making my own? It just
yeah.
there's that whole cutoff, and they like to do that to a lot of statements, but the whole jack of all trades thing is like treated as a bad thing. But
Yeah.
like the whole thing as a jack of all trades is better than a master of one.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
True.
like, why wouldn't we? I feel like at some point we just decided that we need to trade our time to get things from other people, external sources that we could do ourselves
Yeah.
and live a little simpler life. My life is the best that it's ever been. It's
Mhm.
simple. I have people around me who love me for me.
Mhm.
I get to cook beautiful food that I know is fueling people and just feed into them from my abundance.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, I don't know, life is cool.
Yeah. Well, and it's coming from, and when you say like we started trading our time and energy, it was like for productivity, but then we like lose the connection to nature, to the seasons, to what's going on
To
around us
ourselves.
and
We
to
gaslight
ourselves.
ourselves because
Yeah.
everything in this world has become so external that we gaslight ourselves to that feeling in our gut. Now that person has a diploma. They know better
Yeah.
than me because they passed the test,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Or but we do that with so many things. Like, and
Hmm.
we really need to, like your show is talking about, we need to tune into that inner voice, that
Hmm.
inner knowing, our intuition, and just we know. If we allow ourselves selves to listen, we know.
Well, and I think it's decluttering all of the different toxins that we receive from so many different
Mhm.
areas in our life that we're constantly trying to combat because
Mhm.
of these like shortcuts that we're taking in other areas and making your own better, but having something that's locally sourced that feels good, that your body doesn't need a lot to process and it feels very natural and it feels very nourishing for you, what you
Mhm.
input, visually. Like you said, like you went through that process and you did so intuitively and you did so from a place of like, I'm going to do this and not necessarily trying to fit into a norm or trying to subscribe to what everyone else believes to be true, but it helped you arrive in yourself and in the life that you feel the most content within. And no one could have told you that. Like that had to be something that you found by yourself too, or like
Yeah,
through yourself.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, let's be honest, moving me to Montana, I was going to stick out regardless. So, in a
Mm,
way, that gave me the ability to be myself and
mm,
not try and
mhm.
blend, because no matter what I do here, I'm not going to blend in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
So,
then
it
and
gave
then
me
there's a lack of
permission.
desire or even an attempt to do so. So it's like, well, if I'm not going to blend in, then I might as well be 100% me. So what does that look like? But then other people that identify with that can see you and then aligned with you, and then that's giving them the gift of community and connection where they may have felt really alone before.
Absolutely. I've always been attracted to the outliers and the black sheep.
Mhm.
I'm a sucker for
Yeah,
a underdog story, a
yeah,
good comeback, and so I attract those people who have been in dark places. I I mean, I definitely hope that I get to see the trees of good fruit come alive, but in the very
mhm,
least, I get to plant some seeds
mm, mhm,
and or water a couple that had been planted before, and then know that I did that. And down the
yeah,
road, it's going to fruit for someone else.
yeah. That's Well, and the surrender that's required and just the acceptance of that is admirable too, because I know it's not easy. And someone who has come into different people's lives at different points, I'm like, I want to see the fruition of what I've like planted, but the letting go of knowing that I at least planted the seeds that I was meant to, and that they will grow the way that they're meant to, and I will reappear if I'm meant to. So,
Some of the
oh,
things that I've survived that my guides, ancestors, or whoever helped me get through, the invisible sources that helped raise me, like they've had my back this far. They're not gonna like drop me over something little like this, like they've already done their work. So,
yeah. Well, and they're always within us. And I look to, I think, same spiritual guides and angels that are always constantly watching over me. And that connection to my soul is what keeps me on track, because nothing in this external world is keeping me on the path. And so I know that, and sometimes I interact with people like you and different people that are also on that journey that remind me that I'm not alone on it. But it's a good reminder that it doesn't have to necessarily be reinforced within your life for you to be able to feel that connection and feel that the validity of what you're experiencing too.
I mean, it has been a long path. I mean, technically, I'm a minister. At one point, I was being recruited to be a chaplain. I went to seminary. And the funniest thing is, the very first book of the Bible that I ever read was Job.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it just resonated in my soul that, like, the suffering can be a test for the bigger the reward.
Mm-hmm. And what do you feel like that like what rewards have you gotten? Because I think so often a lot of people, at least this is my experience with it, and I just talk to a lot of people going through hard times, and I think me naturally, I am one of those people that I'm like, oh no, it's just like this is happening, but I know that there's going to be something on the other side of it. Like I just remind myself of that, because if my soul is calling me to do it, then I know that there's a reason, there's a purpose for it. But but I think when I talk to other people, they're like, oh no, it's just too hard, or I just don't want to do it. And I'm just like, you can't give up. Like in my mind, I'm like, this is like, you can't give up, because if you give up, you'll never see the other side of it.
Mhm.
And so I just wonder, I know you've said you've always had this sense of hope within you. But has there been times where it's been, can you think of a time where it's been reaffirmed or just reminded of the importance of resiliency and sticking to it no matter what's coming up for you?
Have you ever seen the movie Practical Magic?
Yes.
Okay. Her Impossible Wish?
No, I don't know if I
About
remember that particular part.
about the guy. She made a wish so that she
Oh,
wouldn't
yes.
fall. My
Yeah.
husband's one. He's my
Really?
prince. Yeah.
Oh.
He's everything in the wrong package that I wouldn't have been looking for that I needed. He was a frequency that allowed my fight or flight and my nervous system to finally calm down.
Mhm.
He gave me room to find myself without pushing, and he's a rescuer. He's a healer himself by nature,
Mm,
he wants to do that. He's a hero. Uh, so it was a learning thing for him too, to allow me that space, because it's a bit feral. I had my life and then I raised kids on my own. I was very in my heavy masculine, I don't need anyone.
mhm.
And he allowed me to soften, which is
Yeah.
something I thought I'd always have to have all those walls around me because everyone hurt me.
Mhm.
And he restored my faith that the people I thought were real were real.
Mm. Well, and it gives you that reminder that he's not the only one too, that there's other people that are also coming from this genuine place. And but when I always say in the matters of the heart, it's so hard because there's such a vulnerability required for there to be true connection too.
Absolutely. So I just trying to demonstrate that so other people can too.
Yeah. Well, and you are doing exactly that. So I hope you know, as someone who witnessed you around a variety of different personalities and times, and everyone coming into a space meeting each other for the first time, you could just see the significant impact that you were making by just simply being yourself. And I think that continues, and it definitely made an impact on me as well. And it's definitely made an imprint that I will never forget. And another reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast to just be able to dive a little bit deeper into it all.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And you are such a bright light yourself. Know that.
Thank you. I'm learning, I'm understanding, and I'm trying to understand what I can how I can serve too with it, and I think that me just being myself, I recognize the importance of that, and just being genuine and just being able to hold space for others, I think is something that is a gift of mine, and I'm just going to continue to cultivate it as much as I can. So,
Absolutely. But also, I just think that a lot of your gift is going to come through your motherhood too, and the
mm,
lessons that you're instilling in your little one. I
yeah,
think that that's going to be a beautiful thing. And at the end of your life, you're going to look back and see that a
mm,
lot of the lessons that you embarked on the world came through her.
yeah. I think they already are. Every
Yeah.
day she's laying next to me. I was like, but thank you for saying that. And I think that that's very true. And becoming a mom definitely changed who I was on such a significant level. I waited a long time, and once I became a mom, I knew that I would never be the same, and that everything I would do after that point was always going to be in becoming an example for her, and what I think I always wanted. Not that I had a great mother, and I love my mom, and she watches the podcast. So, mom, I love you. But it is definitely one of those moments where I was like, just the empowerment and just the unconditional love and the reminder that she is enough just as she is. That she doesn't need to change
Absolutely.
anything about herself. And I think that that was something that I've always struggled with, even internally. And so to be
Mhm.
able to get that confirmation from someone that also sees me so clearly and sees her so clearly, I think will allow her to hopefully have a sense of acceptance and confidence at a very young age that she wouldn't have otherwise. Because the world tries to tell you a whole bunch of shit, and I don't believe any of it. And I
Absolutely
definitely don't
does.
want her to.
It absolutely does. As I, at my largest, I was a model, and that's exactly why I
I love.
was. Is that I wanted a 12-year-old girl that had a body like mine to have someone that to look up to because I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. And there was, and I know I remember you saying that. You're like, yeah, you're like, I was at the largest, and she's like, she'll see it just so people get an idea. And then they're like, oh, but she, and she said, she's like, yeah, I was about 400 pounds. I was like, oh my gosh. And like, just to see the transformation. And you're like, yeah, but at that point, honestly, I'm not like everyone else. I was a model. And I was like, of course you would be. Of course you were. But again, it's like you saw the lesson, the opportunity, you took it, you went after it, and then you had, like, I've been using this word all week, the gusto to be able to go, like, to believe in yourself enough to be able to do it. And you did. And like, it's so much of it, I think, within life, it's just believing in yourself, believing that it's possible,
Absolutely.
believing that it could be true, and
Absolutely.
taking the risk to see if it is.
Yep. And that's why this farm is here. So people can choose their own adventure. It wouldn't be me if I didn't say that, right? And then I'll
Mm-hmm.
hold their hands along the way on their adventure.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. Continue to hold the hands if you want to connect. How can people connect with you if they wanted to touch base?
Just look up Rosewood Urban Regenerative Farm or Nganga, which is a little harder. It's in NGA Holistic Health on
Mhm.
Facebook.
Oh, thank you so much, Chelsea, for joining me. If you have any questions, I will be sure to link all of those below so that people can tune in and check in with you. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you with Chelsea. And thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for listening. And thank you for continuing to be on your own journey of self discovery and just being able to lean into that and shine as bright as you do, because it is a light that I think we all need to see in so many different ways. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.